Hello!
Hello!
I'll push that back. My head's disappeared off the top of the screen. It's not that big.
Of course not.
Oh, I'm just going to turn the sound up. How are you?
I am doing well. How about you, Angela?
Yeah. Pretty good. It's Friday, sunny. It's pretty cold. It's probably warmer where you are.
What are your temperatures?
Oh, about 12 degrees.
Oh, yeah,
That's Celsius. Yeah, it's
it,
cold.
it is
Yeah, we don't
cold.
get snow. It's New Zealand. Well, we do get snow in parts of New Zealand, but not where I am.
Which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it hit
Yeah.
it hit 90 degrees Fahrenheit here today.
Oh gosh,
It's
sounds
hot.
lovely.
It's hot. Yeah,
Yeah.
sunny and beautiful.
Yeah. I'm just going to do a very quick intro for anyone who's watching who's not watched before and wondering what on earth are these people going live about. I'm Angela Murray from Living Life in Colour, and I basically help wannabe artists get out of their own way and give it a go and change their lives using creativity. And over the years, I've met and helped train a lot of amazing, soulful creatives from around the world. And I thought it was about time that I actually introduced them to you so you can see how amazing they are. Yeah, rather than keep them all to myself. So today, oh, I may have frozen, but I'll keep on. Have I frozen? Oh gosh. Hopefully Sandy will reappear. Today we've got Sandy Coombs, who is not only an amazing artist, but actually really, I'll just bring her back in. Hold on a sec. Here we go. Let's try again. Joy of technology. Fingers crossed. Hey, you're back. I was just saying that not only an amazing artist, but the thing that I really love about you is your energy and that amazing ability to make people feel really, really happy and special. And also just the way that you light up a room. I think I actually said that in the intro to getting people to come and join us today. So I just really wanted to hand over to you initially so that you can introduce yourself.
Well, first of all, thank you for your kind, positive words. I feel so special. Thank you. And it's just really feels like an honor to be here with you today, because I would say the same thing about you. You have a beautiful way of making people light up from within. And yes, so right back at you. Gosh, I've been a creative since I was a little kid, really. Rather mischievous one, you might say. And creativity just helps me focus it in a way that keeps me out of trouble most of the time.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, I feel like creativity is an expression of our life force. And I happen to just have an enormous amount of energy. And so, you know, I was one of those children that it would be like, what can we give her to do to keep her busy? And I laugh because as a young child, I never played with dolls. I used to cut the neighborhood children's hair at like 8 years old. I would set them up in my bathroom. And the wild thing is, you know, I was pretty good at it. And no surprise, you know, I dropped out of dental school to become a hairdresser.
I can't imagine you as a dentist. Oh
I
my
know,
gosh.
right? It was my father always told me all the time I was growing up. He said the most important thing in life is that you're happy and that you share that happiness with others. And so when I went to dental school, I was just like, this is not making me happy at all.
Oh,
So
okay.
it was just like, it was so serious and so intense. And I wanted to make people feel beautiful and to smile. And so that began my early, kind of my early creativity. And then the other part of me when I was young was my dad traveled, and when he was out of town, I would go to his garage and I would get his power tools out, and I had these grand visions of remodeling my bedroom and my bathroom. And so I would literally just like hook up the power saw and cut holes in my walls, and then it
Oh
wouldn't,
gosh.
right? Right. And then it wouldn't work out quite so well. So I would paint a painting on fabric and hang it over it, trying to hide. And so
Uh,
it's kind of a funny story, but when I met my husband,
hmm.
I was a young hairstylist, and I was telling him all the things that I dreamed about doing and creating, like in my room and in my house someday. And he said to me, well, I'll let you use my power tools. And
Wow.
I mean,
He's a
I'm not
keeper.
kidding you. It was like love at first sight. And so he was the one he's a contractor.
Yeah.
And so, we have, made all kinds of projects. And a lot of my work has been in property renovation, historical
Hmm.
restoration and things like
Cool.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So,
Oh, that's really cool. He's obviously a soulmate if he's going to let you do things like that around the house.
oh my gosh, yes, he's. I tell you, somewhere he has a set of wings just for putting up with me, and he's
Yeah.
definitely saved me more than one or two times because in my earlier years, I'm super spontaneous.
Yeah.
And so, when you have live electrical lines and things like that, they can be a little dangerous.
Yeah.
So it was funny because like I would find a new rug and I would be like, okay, wait, we need to repaint the house. Let's knock this wall out. And finally, one day I had a mentor that said to me, maybe you should start painting canvases instead of
Yeah.
walls.
Yeah. It'd be a lot cheaper.
Yes. And I can change it all the time.
Yeah. 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 So one of the things when I was asking you to come on, one of the things that really struck me was you'd said in your bio that you're driven to create. You have to create. It's not something that you put off. It's something that you have to do. I was going to ask you a little bit more about that.
Sure. So
Mm,
I'm very energetically sensitive. And what
yeah.
I mean by that is I pick up the feelings and the emotions of other people. And so and my own emotions. And so for me, it's like it builds an excess, if you will, of energy. Like I just
Yeah.
collect energy and I have to put it somewhere or I become crazy. Literally, not really crazy, but just, I can get just so wound up that I can't sleep or so
Ah,
excited. And, it's, I think it boils down to I just have a lot of life force energy. And
yeah.
so for me, creating it's like my mark. It's like I was here. And it's like, I wake up in the middle of the night sometimes with ideas and things that want to come through me.
Yeah.
And, and I just I have to do it. And I love to combine like I was a ballet dancer for 40 years, so I really like to use movement and painting together. And for me, it's nice to sometimes create, obviously, a painting that does look like something, if that's what I'm achieving. But for me, it's like I'm at either a sketchbook or a canvas every day, just because I just have to get my hands in it and get something out of me. And so it's the process that really moves me.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, actually, because about the process, because a lot of people and people that follow me who haven't jumped in yet to try creativity really get into their head about not being able to create something that they might want to hang on the wall, or that someone may criticize, or as if it's sort of a product that you're making. And you just mentioned about creativity being a process. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. So
yeah.
So for me, the actual act of being creative, just, you know, putting my hands just directly in the paint sometimes, you know, like I could be feeling frustrated, or, you know, just had a rough day maybe. And if I just come home and I look at my paint colors and I'm like, what do I feel right now? What color would make me feel calmer or more peaceful? Or if I'm down and sad, what color would make me happy? And then I might just squirt it out on my plate and just start tapping my fingers in it. And it's just that movement. And then just, you know, making like dot, 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 dot. And then all of a sudden, woo! And I'll just make like a big mark around. And it's just that act of, you know, just like when you were a child and you just scribbled on a page and you just started laughing.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, Angela, I think what it really is I'm a happiness junkie. Like, I want to be happy. I want to feel like I am at my best in the world. And if I don't keep my energies moving, they get all jammed up and backed up. And then I just kind of get sort of just
down into the swamp.
Yeah, exactly. And so just the process. And the same thing, like sometime I was so frustrated a couple days ago, and I had to find a really big, bold pencil. And one wasn't enough. I grabbed like 4 pencils and I just started going in my sketchbook and just like, Aah! And then I walked away and went and cooked dinner. And then later that evening, I came back to my studio and I looked at it and I was like, oh my gosh, I started seeing images in it.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just, you just never know where the process will take you.
I love that, because one of the things when I'm teaching Dream Big, Paint Big, I get them to continually turn the canvas, because people get really stuck in having the canvas in one orientation. Yes. And I say to them, first of all, I don't want you to fixate. I want you to just go with it and see what happens. But also, when you turn it, all of a sudden, you look at it and go, oh my gosh, that's what you are. I had no clue 2 seconds ago that you were going to be, I don't know, a Buddha or whatever.
Yeah.
But now I see what you are, because you're showing yourself to me. And so, yeah, I love that. And I think the other thing, something you just said about the movement and the using your fingers and sort of drumming on the canvas. I ran one workshop where a lady brought, well, actually it was a retreat, and she played the drums. And she brought her drumsticks.
Yes.
And at one point, this is one of my most favorite things, was watching her put the drumsticks in the paint and then drumming on the canvas while it was actually on an easel. And it was just, she was so lost in the moment, like you were describing, of just, so it was movement and noise and just the thing that she loved to do. And it was just, Yeah, I felt really honored to watch that unfold. Yeah.
Yes, just pure magic, that sounds like.
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
because, I think so often we all get stuck in our head. It's so easy in this world to do just when you turn on the news, for heaven's sakes. It's like,
yeah,
oh, and the act of just spontaneous expression, it takes you out of that headspace into a place of possibilities
yes,
and
yes.
and adventure.
Mm. Yeah. And when you were talking, I don't have that sort of need to get energy out, but I often use, well, it might be stuck energy actually. For me, it's more a case of, if I say this on occasions, if I don't paint, I'm not as nice a person.
Yes.
I'm a lot calmer when I've been painting. I am
Yes.
much more open and willing to go with the knocks of life or whatever's going on. But if I don't paint, for a few days, I can feel my energy dropping.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something in the act of throwing paint, or I often don't paint with an idea in mind, so I just follow whatever comes out on the canvas. But there's just something about that act of throwing paint or having my fingers in it or just making a mark, or even spray painting. I love spray painting. How
Oh yeah.
that sudden change and shift on the canvas actually feels like a sudden change and shift in me. And it can be 10 minutes. It doesn't need to be an hour or so in the studio. I can be that in 10 minutes. But yeah, so I use it, I guess, to get rid of the
Mm-hmm.
and just raise my vibration back up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think for me, I get into excessive energy, and anything that goes up, right,
Got
comes
to come.
down. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, it's kind of a balancing, and all that frenetic energy really is very discombobulating, and it
Yeah.
keeps me from focusing. And when I
Yeah.
say focusing, I don't mean like mentally concentrating on something, but it's a cleaner, it clears my energy. So
Mm.
and so my energy's more like, I still have a lot of energy, but it's smoother, and it's more flowy, and it's a better quality of energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds about right. There's a somebody's left a message, just art by Zebra 11, just said, I hear myself in her.
Mm,
Yeah, that's cool. It's nice knowing that there's other people out there that are going through the same things.
yes. And
Mm.
honestly, when I started finding like Whitney, Freya, and all of you online, it was really the first time in my life when I said, oh my gosh, there's other people like me. Like, I'm not the only one that's just like, kind of crazy and just
Yeah.
dares to dream, I think.
Yeah, I think because as well, we can be surrounded by a lot of people that are very much in the left brain, logical brain, and you do feel like there's something wrong with you.
Yes.
Like, yeah, I feel like there's more to life than this. I remember actually the first time that, because I was working in the corporate world and I was running my art business as well. And as part of what I do readings, and I've got, oh gosh, about 30 odd decks of oracle cards, and generally they were mostly for me. And this one day I decided to, on my Facebook page, to ask if anybody wanted a reading, and I was so scared that people would think I was nuts, and especially because some of my family have sort of more religious background, and I thought, oh my gosh, they're going to either think I've gone crazy here in New Zealand, or I've gone to the dark side. Anyway, so I put it out there, and I was actually, I can't remember, I think there was about 16 people immediately came back and asked, but some of them were my aunties.
interesting.
I know. And I thought, you know, that whole being afraid to be yourself, be completely yourself. And after that, it was like, well, okay, it's out now. But yeah, there was still that thing about the logical people in my life, the people that I worked with in the corporate world, not wanting them to see that creative side. And yet now, because I work with a community organization who fully know what I do, I can be myself all the time, and it's great. And maybe that just comes with age, or does it come with creativity? I'm not quite sure which one came first.
Yeah, yeah. I'm so glad though that you finally have been able to kind of bridge that world and be yourself. You know, I was always so outside the box all of my life, so I never really fit in anywhere. And I went through a period where I tried to. Fortunately, as a hairstylist, I didn't have to in a job setting. So that was really helpful. But there was still this element of, you know, not wanting people to see like the depth of what I really did, like, you know, sensing energy and all of those kinds of things. So, so I think I kind of covered that up. And you know, I think it's so interesting how we as people have been so indoctrinated into not trusting our intuition, which is a very natural, innate sense that we have. I mean, we are just as much a spiritual being, if not more, having human experience, you know, but isn't it interesting how, you know, and I do remember one point in time, even my dad kind of, I think because he was sort of jealous that he had to live in the corporate world and I did not.
Yes.
I remember him kind of insinuating that to make a living with my art was somehow less responsible.
Yeah.
And, you know, I remember actually being a young woman, like in my early 20s, and seeing a therapist over that because my father, you know, who I really respected, is somehow, you know, saying that this would be irresponsible of me. And, you know, I'm so glad I went to see that therapist because the clear answer was, so because you're going to be creating, that means that you won't pay your bills. And I'm like, well, that's ridiculous. But, you know, we have this idea that work, you know, has to be serious.
Oh, yes.
And to be joyful and fun. And I've been working with somebody to help brand me here of recent. And I even had somebody just tell me, well, if you're going to do your energy work, you probably wouldn't want to present yourself as an artist because they might just think you hang out and paint pictures and have fun all day.
And how awful would that be?
And I was just like, oh my gosh. And you're like, this is somebody that's, you know, that I thought would really get it. But clearly not.
It's interesting. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So see it.
Yeah, I was thinking when you were talking about one of my previous roles. I used to negotiate contracts for a living, and as part of that, I never ever told, because I worked with a lot of men. It was only a few women that were in the kind of role that I was in, and what I never ever told them was when I approached a negotiation, I would have in my head this idea of it being like a forest, and all the trees had fruit on them, and each tree I knew what it was that I wanted, what was part of the negotiation that I wanted, and in my head I would be carrying a basket, wandering from tree to tree, just going, so I would talk about this part, and then I'd get that, put the apple in the basket, and then I'd be chat, 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 distraction. In my head, I'm thinking, okay, I'm now heading to this tree to get, and I never ever told them that that's what I was doing, because they would have thought that I was crazy. But I was really good at what I did. And I've had people say to me before, oh my gosh, I don't know how, but I ended up giving you all this stuff. And I don't know how you did it. And I was thinking, I am so not going to tell you what was going on in my head.
That is brilliant. That is
Yeah.
brilliant. You were already using your
Mm.
visualization to manifest what you wanted.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But if I had told my male colleagues, oh my
Oh,
God, yeah,
oh no,
yeah,
no, no, no.
yeah.
I
So
love that
what is your
story.
negotiation plan? Well, first of all, I'm going to go to the tree over here.
Yes, and
I don't think I've never actually put this on video before, so that'll be interesting.
you'll have some of your old colleagues saying, "Hey, now wait a minute, what were you doing?" That is brilliant. That is brilliant.
Hmm.
But
Hmm. So
I think that is again, women are we are very much I think more left and right brain often, just because we're wired a little bit differently than men.
yeah.
And I just think that that is a story I will never forget.
Yeah. Yeah. I think another thing you touched on as well is about the energy. And I always found that because of the role that I had, it was portrayed that you had to be very demanding and very focused and how do I put it? Like you were the one that was you were the one spending the money, therefore you were the one supposed to be in charge. But what I actually found was that the best thing for me to get what I needed on behalf of the company I was working for was actually reading energy, was reading the other person, because I could go into a negotiation with someone I'd never even met before, and I had to be able to know them within the first sort of 30 seconds. The only way you can do that is by reading energy and um, understanding who they are in a very short space of time. So yeah, and I guess with you, like you said, you're working in hairdressing. You were dealing with a lot of people's different energy at the time when you were
Yes,
doing that.
yes, and that actually was that was the downfall for me, is
Mm.
that my clientele kept growing and growing and growing, and I would work longer and longer days, and energetically I was just zapped.
Yeah,
Like I just would be so full of other people's energy that by the end of the day, oh my goodness, I would just be beside myself. I would talk for hours to get it all out of me, because it's been
oh
a lot.
gosh.
Yes, I would get so wound up with energy. And my
Yeah,
poor husband, I would come home at night and talk for like 3 hours nonstop about my day. And then I would drop. I would just be like dead to the world.
yeah.
So actually specifically working with people energetically now and spacing that time out is
Mm.
much, much, much better. It's like that way, because ultimately that's where creativity comes in. It just helps keep me on a more even keel.
Yeah, as you mentioned before, that's a really good way for you to get that out, to go to the
Yes.
studio. And do you find you have to spend a long time in the studio, or?
I find if I only have 5 minutes, then I better grab that 5 minutes, because to me, it's the consistency. Much like you, if I miss, 3 or 4 days, I get cranky. Um, you know,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
people that are close to me, they'll say, haven't painted in a few days, have you? Because they just know that I need to get into the studio. The other
mm,
thing I find, but no, I mean, it's lovely if I have like an entire, afternoon to paint and really get in there. But if 5 minutes is all I have, it really doesn't take a whole lot to make some marks. And,
mm,
I can come back. I've got a painting behind me that, I've been working on for probably 10 days. And when
yeah,
I have time, I come in and I get prepared and I tune into that painting, and I keep wanting to put orange on it, and it keeps asking me to go more blues and greens and yellows. And so I've been in a little bit of a conflict with that painting.
aha.
Does that ever happen to you?
Yeah, yeah. It's one of the things that I do teach is that people assume that they're in charge of the painting. So wrong.
Right.
It's in charge. And I think once you let go of that, it's so much easier. But yes, you can go and it's like, I really want to use this color. And you stand in front of it and it's going, no.
Exactly. It's like,
Yeah.
especially with the spring and the, you know, the weather and the flowers are all coming up. And I'm like, oh, I want some pinks and oranges. And it's like, no, not
No,
today. So
not today. Another painting. That's for another painting.
exactly. And I did
Yeah.
get a canvas gessoed and ready to go. So that's what I decided. I'm going to have two of them going, one that has oranges and pinks.
That's good advice, actually, to have more than one canvas on the go,
I think
because
so.
we get a bit obsessed about the one that we're working on. And I have two canvases at least. One is to, when I'm finished, I hate throwing paint down the drain. So I'll
Me
take the
too.
paint and I'll put it on another canvas. But also that thing about you get a bit obsessive about the one you're working on, and sometimes you need to spread the love.
That is so true. Yeah, that is
Yeah,
exactly true. And
yeah.
that way too,
So
while one's drying, you can move over and work on another one too, if you are so fortunate to have, you know, a little bit of like an hour or so of time.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, you sound so much like me. I'm so impatient. I can't wait for it to dry. I've got my hair dryer.
Me too. I have it down here on the floor right now because I was painting over here. I know that, and
Yeah, yeah.
that's just too funny. I remember thinking it's just so interesting, you know, when I look back upon what my thoughts about being an artist were compared to really stepping in and allowing yourself to allow the creative process to work for you. There's so many
Hmm.
myths about like I used to think that to be an artist I had to just be able to from my mind sit down and draw anything someone asked me to draw. And
Yeah, yeah.
that's crazy. I mean, it's just, you know, and where we got all these silly ideas, you know, I don't have a clue. But
Yeah. I don't know. It is, I think it is a myth, really.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
yeah. And it should definitely shouldn't stop you from giving it a go either. Yeah, yeah. So what does being an artist mean to you?
It's a good question. Oh, let's see. Being an artist, I think to me is it's about expressing my truth. And
Hmm.
when I say my truth, that means that I show up to the canvas honestly as myself. I can't do art like someone else. I went through a spell where I kept thinking I have to find my style, and I took all these classes, and I still enjoy classes from time to time. But I see that very differently because when I would try to paint like someone else, I would just end up super frustrated. And, you know, like that was even more of my brain kicking, my left brain kicking in and saying, oh,
Uh,
you didn't do it right. You didn't do this and you didn't do that. And so to me, first and foremost, as an artist, I feel like it's my job to keep my energy at a high frequency so that what comes through me is clear and is bringing the full expression of life as it comes through me onto the page or the canvas or the story. And I feel that being an artist, we see things differently than the common just people that are every day doing, you know, like oftentimes people will say, well, I never thought about it that way. Or, you know, people
mm,
will call me for insight because you always have such a different outlook on things. And
mm,
I think to me, that's what being an artist is. I mean, just like painting a vase of flowers, if I see that vase of flowers and to me, I just see these blobs of colors. Like the vase might just sort of fade into the background because the flowers are what draw me. And so I might do something completely abstract to where somebody else would say, that's not that vase of flowers, but it is how I perceive them. And so
yeah.
to me, that's being an artist. It's allowing
gift
my expression to be brought forth.
of that. Yeah. And then the thing you were describing about having a different view on life, I think there is, like, creativity is you're right, it's not even just about creating a physical thing. It's about the way that you look at the world. And there is such a thing as creative thinking.
Yes.
um,
Yes.
yeah. Ruth who's on has just said we see life creatively, creation all around. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
looking
mean,
at things, oddly, I might look at the gaps between things when I'm looking at an object. That, what they call it, negative space, which I
yep.
always think that's a bit of a, I don't like that word, but that
Right.
gap between one thing and another, I go, oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think often we see possibility where other people might see nothing, or like that's not right, or that's bad.
Yeah.
And instead,
Yeah.
the artist comes along and says, oh, but we could do this and this and this. And people will look at you and say, huh? How did you get that out of that? But we see possibilities.
Yes.
I think creative people also don't like to be told they can't do something.
Or be told what to do, in my case.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Yes, we kind of
Yeah,
beat to our own drum a little bit.
I think so. Actually, you mentioned Whitney Freer earlier. When I was doing the coaching training with her, there's this part where you continually paint over a painting. I had no issue at all about the continually painting over thing. But the thing that brought out my 5-year-old, or maybe actually no, probably more 14-year-old, because it felt real teenage, was being told what to do. So I'd signed up for this class. Obviously, there is instruction, and I was not enjoying being told what to do. What a brat.
That is so funny.
Yeah. And I learned that about myself, and I accept that about myself. I don't like being told what to do at all.
I'm with you. I have always said I get along great with just about anyone until they tell me what to do.
Exactly. Oh, good. It's not just me.
No.
Yeah. No, because I'm pretty even keel with most people until the point where someone, first of all, either very pointedly tells me I'm wrong,
Oh.
and I don't agree. If I don't, generally I can see both sides of the story, but if I don't agree, and then if they tell me what to do or how I could have done it better, ooh.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you on that. And
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
I'm always amazed too, because I do think, and I'm sure there are exceptions to everything, but I think that artists in general are deeply caring and committed to making the world a better place. And so the idea that anyone would say you did it wrong, it's like in a million years, I would never approach, even if I thought like, oh no, that's wrong. I would find a much more creative way to express how they might go in a different direction. Like I would never.
Yeah.
So, I do think all of these things that you're talking about, it's like, yeah, that just rubs me the wrong way when you say,
yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, when I was learning, because I didn't come back to creativity really until I think I was 38, and I joined an art class, and it was different modalities like acrylic and watercolor and crayons and pencils and all sorts of stuff. And I remember the art teacher, because you got a report at the end, bearing in mind I was an adult by then. And and on the report he wrote, acrylic painting is not Angela's friend. And I always think about that report, because luckily I was a certain personality type that basically went, stuff you, I'm going to do it anyway.
Yes.
But what if I'd been one of those students that had took that to heart and put all my creativity aside because I'd been told I wasn't good at. There are ways that you can say that if you're observing something and in a class and you've got someone who's obviously struggling, you don't go up to them and tell them that
No,
you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong.
no.
I get them to find their own answers, but also I'm there to help lift them and um, be positive, because I don't want them to have that experience that I had.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
look at you now. I mean, it's like,
But
yes, and some people do though. I mean, the stories that I've heard from clients, oh
mm,
my goodness, the things that they were told when they were younger, or, in your case, a young adult, my
yeah,
goodness. And
mm,
it's like, again, I thought there were no rules with acrylic painting. And so whenever somebody's getting started, isn't that what it's all about anyway? I mean,
yeah,
to help encourage them along.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
For them, but if once you start criticizing, they stop being curious.
they shut down. But
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I remember him fondly. Not. Um,
of course, absolutely. Yeah. I'm so
yes, I
glad that
remember. I can't remember his name. Anyway, a question for you: what mistakes do you think that you've learned from along the way? Since we're talking about mistakes.
mm, wow, I'd say that I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. I don't have a lot of regrets, but I've tried a lot of things. And I think probably, oh boy, the biggest mistake that I would say is I had a lot of issues with perfection, believe it or not.
Wow.
It's like I have two different aspects of me. There's like the part of me that just creates full on for process, and because I have to stay sane. And then there's the other part of me that is, the designer, the contractor, the hairstylist, the person that likes to see things come together and look nice. And
Yeah.
so that has been probably, that's been I can't say that that's a mistake, but if there's
Mm,
ever a mistake that I've made, it's allowing that to slow my process down to where I believe that I had to reach a certain level of expertise before
mm.
I was good enough to teach or share or whatever. And that's definitely would be a mistake, I would think, is the
Yeah.
believing in that perfection,
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's
And I guess
impossible.
it is impossible. One of I can't remember whether I made this up or whether it was something I saw somewhere, but I say it quite often around perfectionism is I don't want to be perfect because being perfect just makes other people feel inadequate. Nobody wants to hang out with someone who's perfect for that reason. So we should just let it go. And like you just said, it doesn't exist anyway. It's a myth. Where did that come from?
It's, I
Yeah,
tell
is
you, well, I really think there's a lot to it. I mean, that is where you have it's a low self-worth, I think, is part of that. I mean, I would say, if
mm,
I were going to be honest, because I've done a lot of work around that. And
mm,
yeah, and I think that ties into a lot of the, it's just interesting because when I was 30 some years old, I went to art school.
right,
And I remember being in the classroom with people that had been studying creativity and going to every class since they were little. Like their parents raised them and they had that experience and they could just whip out a drawing. And then you had people like me in school. I was the science math route, right? And
right,
it's almost like in academia, it's like there's this mystique that, and they try to turn it into somewhat of a prestige, if you will, to give it accreditation, you know, and that's, and so it's like there's this level of, you know, you have to, like, I spent an entire year drawing the human skull, and they measured it within like a 16th of an inch, and it was insane. I mean, I did it, and it made me crazy because it took the perfectionism that I had already to begin with, and just like buried me in it. And so I completely walked away from creativity because I said to myself, I mean, it was no fun. It took the life out of it for me. And so it was only, so I went back on with my regular life as was, just being creative, doing what I did. And then I found Connie Solera, one of her painting classes, like I think it was called Paint Big, where it was just totally intuitive painting. And that truly, I will tell you, was the key that unlocked me learning to love myself.
Oh, that's amazing. I'll have to look her up. I'd not heard of her. Yeah.
And it's been a layering. I mean, I would say that Whitney's had a hand in that, you know, many, many wonderful women, yourself, you know, all of those positive people have helped me build, you know, my belief in myself.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't give up and you carried on.
Me too.
Especially because of the first part of the conversation, you'd definitely be crazy making by now.
I would have, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine where I would be today. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, the people that I work with, that I have helped to pick up a paintbrush that never believed they could.
Yeah. Actually, talking about what's lighting you up right now, what's in your world that you're really enjoying?
Yeah, so I'm working right now on finishing up a program called Chakra Dance, and I'm going to combine it with painting, and I'm just getting ready to well, I've been working on a website for a while, but I kept changing the name of it and I couldn't quite dial into it. So I'm going to call my studio the Kaleidos Soul Studio.
Nice.
Like a kaleidoscope.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's cool.
And so I'm going to combine movement and painting.
Yeah.
And especially as we hopefully begin to open back up here, I will get back to doing live classes. I've always done kind of like a paint and sip kind of thing, you know, in person. And I'm very slow to get into the online world, just because I did have such a community of people locally from the businesses that we've had. But with lockdown, you know, over in the States, oh my goodness, it's been quite an ordeal here, as in many other places too. But I really felt the need to branch out because, you know, we couldn't get together. We could do Zooms, which thank goodness for Zoom.
Exactly. Yeah, I think although it's been it's been very difficult for a lot of people. I think it has for those of us who, like you just said, you were running maybe workshops in your local area. You're now saying that actually there's another way to look at this, and you can do stuff online and interact with people from around the world. I mean, we're talking now. I'm in New Zealand. You're in the US. Isn't it amazing?
It's so amazing. And it makes me just want to travel so much. I mean, it's the world opens up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You definitely have to come here.
Oh, I would love to. Oh my God, it's beautiful.
Yes.
Especially, I've seen pictures of your new location.
Yes.
Are you loving that?
I do. We look straight out over sort of bushland and fields, and it was a dream for a long time that we just couldn't make work in Auckland where we were living. And I'll say quirk of fate, but I know it was the universe. I've ended up with exactly what I wanted, just not where I thought it would be. Yeah.
Yeah,
Isn't there a saying, man plans and God laughs? I think that is
absolutely.
so true.
It's true.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
As soon as I stopped trying to push in a certain direction and I was hitting brick walls, and then I sort of threw everything out and went, right, that's it. I'm not doing this anymore. All of a sudden the universe just went, okay, so here's the path I was trying to steer you down. And everything happened like bang, 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 bang. And then here we are, living in beautiful surroundings. I feel so blessed to be here. I love being here. I live of all places in the Bay of Plenty.
That is amazing. You you couldn't have even manifested a better place.
I know, and it didn't occur to me until long after we moved in. I thought, oh my gosh, actually, we're living in the Bay of Plenty.
Yeah, if that's not
Yeah,
abundance just all around you, oh my goodness. That's
it's a say.
beautiful. That's
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah. Ruth,
Yeah.
who's on, saying I'm looking forward to visiting. Yay!
Yes.
At some point, I hope to run a retreat here. But I'm just sort of trying to get myself into the groove. It could be next year. Actually in relation to something like you said earlier about energy, a feeling of wanting to not do many in-person classes, even though we can here. Feeling that I want to pull my energy back for myself and my online world. So yeah, so I'm just having to listen to that at the moment. Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. I
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I think our energy is, I think if we listen to that voice, we get and go exactly where we're meant to go.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're right. One last question I was going to ask you was, do you have any tips for new artists or people who want to take up creativity?
Yeah. First of all, do it.
Number one.
Absolutely. Yes, you must do it and keep it simple. You know, get brushes and paints that, you know, are reasonably priced. Don't go out and think you have to spend a lot of money to get started. Even now, I use some cheaper brushes because I like to, like, you know,
Hmm.
graffiti with them, and I'm terribly hard on brushes. I would say if you're worried about people in your life that you think might laugh at you or criticize you, don't tell those people. Keep it as a little seed that you're planting in your heart, and start working and doing a little bit and seek out those persons that you know are going to be your cheerleader and help you to build your creative muscles. And then one day you can take something that you're really proud of and show those people, and their jaw will just be like, what? You know, when did you do that? But I think when, you know, if we're worried about that, sometimes just literally tending that little fragile, vulnerable seed and not
Hmm.
putting it out there can sometimes, if especially if we do have people that are super critical.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's really, really good advice. I know when I run Dream Big, Paint Big, I don't like people. Although it would be difficult because canvases are big, I deliberately didn't want them taking them home between sessions because it could go on for 8 weeks when they're in that really vulnerable stage of their just being curious and playing. And I didn't want anyone else to then have a view on what they were doing and then basically crush that seed. And I love the way that you described that because it is about nurturing that and allowing it to come to its own fruition. And it might turn into an ugly plant. Who knows? But you
And
can
who
always plant
cares?
another one. Exactly.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And that's one of those myths. I mean, because I remember looking at a book that Picasso, it was about one painting, and I can't recall which painting it was, that Picasso had worked on. The book was like this thick, and it was one painting, and he had
Wow.
repainted this one painting well over hundreds of times because he couldn't get it just right, you know.
Gosh.
And I think that was Picasso. You know, people have this idea that the great masters, that, you know, if you're an artist, you just whip it out. And it's like, you have to be willing to make a lot of ugly, scribbly, ugly plants. And that's okay. You know, it's, you learn something every single time, even if it's how to mix colors or what you like or what you don't like. Every mark on that canvas is a little bit closer to freedom.
Oh, I like that a lot. I like that. Yeah. And that's, for me, that is what it's about, is allowing yourself to be free. Yeah.
Yes.
And that's it. It's about allowing yourself to be free. It's not even other people holding us back.
No,
Yeah.
but if you're just getting started and you're all excited and you're needing that encouragement and you show it, just like you were talking about, if they took it home. And again, people out there, even though there are loved ones and they may have 5 PhDs, but, you know, if they haven't worked with creativity, they have the same misconceptions that we did when we got started. And they may look at that and say, oh, why are you wasting your time?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
to that, I say, because it makes me feel good.
Yeah.
If I paint, it makes me feel good.
Yeah. And they want that for you anyway. So then that's all it needs to be.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Oh, what was that? Somebody's just posted. Oh, it was Ruth. So Picasso was influenced by so many other painters and cultures too.
They did.
Was Van Gogh and Matisse, they played and explored.
They did.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And even you know, lots of paintings where they look at them and you can see where there was something underneath and they painted over the top.
Yes.
Yeah, not this myth of they did it right first. They did it right first time.
Not at all.
Not a thing.
I remember my drawing professor telling me, Sandy, drawing is creativity. It's a process of discovery. What are you, you know, as you move along the canvas with paint, or what are you discovering? How, you know, how does your hand feel in the paint as it moves across?
That's lovely. Yeah. And what are you discovering about yourself at the same time?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Cool. Would you believe we've been talking for an hour?
Have we really?
Yeah.
Time flies.
I think that's
time flies when you're with a good person.
Oh, that's lovely. And that's why I invited you, because you are.
Thank you so much. I've enjoyed it.
How do people find you? I did post your Instagram, but I don't know.
So you can find me on Facebook, Sandy Combs. I just look up Sandy Combs. I think I'll come up there. I'm not 100% sure. I do have my Instagram, which I'm getting ready to start using more. And follow my page, and I will soon be having my page with Kaleidosol Studio coming very soon.
Nice. Awesome.
Yes.
Oh, well, good luck with that. It's great. You're getting out there so more people can share that wonderful, wonderful, joyful smile and energy. And I'm really happy for you. Thank you very much for being here today. And I'll post the link to your Instagram once I've done the magic that happens after I press the button.
Yes. Yes.
Cool. Yeah. You have a wonderful rest of your day.
You too, dear.
Lots of love. Okay. And thanks to everyone who joined. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.